Hello, and welcome to episode 3 of Rotten Commentatoes. I'm your host, Keegan Robertson, joined today by my co-host, Darren Mortimer. And we're going to be looking at It this week. The forces of evil coming into Derry, Maine in the form of a killer clown that loves the flesh of children. Darren, how you doing today, bud?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good. I'm still scared of clowns, I'll tell you that much.
I'm not a big fan either. When I watched the miniseries, the original miniseries when I was a kid, and it scared the absolute shit out of me.
Yeah, Tim Curry did a hell of a job with that one.
Yeah.
Like everybody else was complete garbage, but Tim Curry did a great job being a scary clown. This one, for some reason, they made its forehead oh god,
Giant,
just huge.
humongous.
Yeah, which is, I guess, like Pinky and the Brain. The more evil thoughts inside of someone's head, the bigger their cranium gets.
This is larger their brain is.
Yeah. But jumping right into it, we start the movie. It's raining outside. We're in the 80s. There's a D&D poster on the wall. Georgie, Bill Denbrough's younger brother, comes into Bill's room and asks him to make him a tiny paper boat that he can float down the alley. Instantly, this is a big callback to the 1990s one. Actually, a lot of the plot flows in the exact same fashion that the 90s one did, and that's the 90s one was trying its best to follow the book as well. This is the opening scene from the book. The opening scene for Bill, anyway.
All right, because in the miniseries they had that little thing with the white sheets hanging out to dry.
Yeah.
Which was a creepy. It was a creepy little scene. I always liked that sequence in the miniseries.
In the book, actually, the movie opens with two guys gay bashing someone outside of town in Derry, and then the clown is in the water, and they put the body in the water, and he grabs it and eats it.
Oh damn.
Yeah, because it loves gay bashing, violence, racism, all forms of bigotry.
Yeah, there's a lot of themes of abuse and.
He's like the Donald Trump or Vladimir Putin of supporting that kind of shit. So Georgie
Shout
is
out to the
chasing
current political landscape.
Georgie is chasing this boat down the street. He takes a good knock off of a sawhorse, but keeps going. He's really got to get to this sewer grate so that he can get eaten.
Yeah.
And
He doesn't want to lose his precious paper boat.
Yeah,
because you can never make a new one.
Yeah, it's an expensive time. Paper was at least like $30 per sheet at this point in the 80s. The great paper boat shortage of 1981. But yeah, so he meets it in the sewer, and I have a big problem with it in this sewer scene because first, his eyes glow despite the shadow being cast across his face. His teeth are his front teeth are about 3 times longer than a regular human being's, and his forehead is fucking 9 times bigger than any forehead should ever be. And
that's huge.
And somehow he lures Georgie to grab into the sewer grate to get that boat, and then his arm gets bitten off. And to that I say, where is Derry's stranger danger policies? You got to be teaching your kids, if a guy's forehead is even 1.5 times bigger than a regular human being's, you stay away from that person.
If his eyes glow in the dark,
yeah,
stay away from that person. Like, we've just established that Georgie gets freaked out by that shit because he's got the 2 lights in the garage spook him.
Yeah,
because they look like eyes, and then he actually sees someone with eyes like that, and he's like, "Oh yeah, it's fine. I need my boat." That's just. You find that in all horror movies, though, just victims doing stupid shit. And that's why they become.
What I'm trying to say is that I don't feel sorry for Georgie. I think that he would have eventually run into traffic after a small rubber ball, or flown a kite into power lines and climbed up into them to get it.
Natural selection.
Yeah, natural selection started early, and clowns got to eat, right?
Clowns got to eat. They're just higher up on the food chain. So you gotta be on the lookout for those guys.
So we get an early establishment that this clown is out for blood. He's not fucking around. He just ate a kid's arm. And I'm not talking like slowly or anything. One bite, kid's arm's gone.
One bite. So, I was not expecting that. I was expecting him to just get like pulled in.
Yeah.
And then I was like, holy shit.
He just bit his arm off. And I think that's not common in today's cinema, but I hope it makes a big comeback. I hope that we see a lot more arms of 8-year-olds getting bitten off in cinema.
Just children losing appendages.
Yeah, I want to make a screenplay for Jaws, Jaws like senior year, but it's senior year in grade school. We gotta kill this fucking shark, guys. We gotta kill him.
This is like a little sailboat that they worked on all summer and put together.
A little
scooter.
dinghy. So this next 10 minutes, we get a nice intro to the kids. We're seeing them at the end of summer. You meet Richie, Stan, Bill, Eddie. Is that the
Eddie,
guy that?
Eddie. For me, the Eddie and Richie stuck out as the best characters.
Yeah,
those kids really nail their roles.
They have a great back and forth, and Richie's dialogue is pretty amazing. It feels like how you spoke when you were 13 years old. You're just finding out about some new swear words. Like, you just learn what the C word is, and you start saying the F word around your friends. They're not telling on you anymore, so you can start to play around, acting like an adult in that way. So I think we've all been there. So it was really really refreshing.
Yeah, no, it was really good. I think the kids do a great job of their roles, especially Eddie and Richie.
Yeah, and I think kids don't get their due credence in movies most of the time, like for the dialogue that they would actually be saying.
Yeah, because
you got to clean it up for most movies, and then other movies don't showcase it as much. For this one, you get a real good look into the young mind of children being guided by a clown.
And especially the group of boys, they're just breaking each other's balls all the time, and
breaking each other's balls, swimming in their skivvies with one girl.
There's a lot of humor in it too, and I really liked it. I think this is my favorite part of the movie was this whole domestic side of things.
Yeah, like when you're introduced to Beverly, she's getting trash poured on her. Richie is getting threatened by Bill, and it feels very much like a Freaks and Geeks scenario. Like these are the over dramatic lives of young preteens. Yeah. And we leave the school and we follow Bill to his house, where he has set up a hamster cage, the tubing from a hamster cage, to facilitate what the sewers would have done to his brother, because Bill is looking for Georgie still.
Yeah, he wants to know what happened to his brother.
And his dad is super pissed. And basically says, your brother's dead.
I mean, I kind of found this to be like it's brutal. I don't think his dad is handling the situation in the right way. He's being pretty neglectful of Bill's feelings in this whole thing.
Well, and in the novel, they get into that more, but basically Pennywise has been in this town for hundreds of years. He's been on the earth for thousands and thousands of years, and when he lives in a place like this, he really starts to fuck with the levels of perception of the people around him. So we're going to see later in the movie that there's about 30 missing kid posters posted around the city, and what they've done is they just stick a new one on top of the old one, and the people sort of forget, like there's 30 dead kids in their city in a year, and they're not concerned with it. They immediately forget.
Yeah, I like that little part with the poster. It's kind of like a little surreal moment, a little what the fuck moment. Yeah.
Now that they've left the school, we get introduced to all the fears of the kids. So Mike Hanlon is dropping off meat at the butcher shop, and he sees burning hands coming out of the door that won't open, because Mike was in a fire when he was younger. We wanted to Stan Uris. He sees a creepy painting in a study.
Oh, like that painting is pretty funny.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, I'd be scared of that painting too. I wouldn't want that.
That's not a cool painting. I don't like. Is his dad a fan of horror?
I don't know. Like, I like dark art. You know, I like my art pretty weird and dark, but there's no way I'd hang that shit up in my house. It's a creepy ass painting.
I feel like that's Stan's parents just being mean to him, being like, "Look, stay out of the study, kid, because we have the most fucked up painting in the entire world. If you don't, she might eat you." I bet that's his grandma or something, by the way.
Like, what is she holding in the painting?
A flute?
I know, like a recorder. Like, it's kind of random. But yeah, super
And she
creepy
doesn't
face.
kill anybody with the flute. I would love to see that that they used all the props from the painting.
Yeah, she doesn't play the flute.
Yeah,
Nothing.
she's really got to get her backstory right. Like, is she trying to eat children or is she playing the flute? We get introduced to Eddie's mom. Next, Eddie is
Super
he's a hypochondriac, which I can relate to. Very neurotic person myself, but fortunately, I didn't have a mother that forced that on me.
Yeah, and like nurtured it and allowed it to
Yeah,
grow.
Eddie's mom is the
But
definition of a helicopter parent.
oh, she's horrible. She's emotionally abusive.
And, you know, I always feel sorry for people that have to play those shitty roles in movies because you get to really dislike them if they do a good job.
Yeah.
I would be mortified if I had to walk into an audition and be someone's abusive father. Like Beverly's father is a total incestuous pedophile,
Yeah,
and he does a hell of a job.
And they immediately set that up.
Yeah.
The moment you meet him, because the first thing he does, you're like, oh, that's the dynamic there at home for her.
Yeah. Which is too bad for that guy because I doubt he's gonna get a leading role after playing that character. That's
Yeah.
a kind of career suicide. Hey man, I loved you when you were the pedophile dad in It. You did such a great job. Do you want to be in my film?
Yeah, the next thing he's gonna audition for, it'll be like a social worker, like a high school counselor, working close with the kids, helping them out.
Real close, Beverly. Real close.
Oh, the way he touches her hair, so gross.
Yeah, and we're still. You're about 27 minutes into the film. We're still getting these small vignettes of the kids being introduced to It. Next is Ben Hanscom, and he's at the library, and a balloon floats through the library down into the basement, and none of the adults in the room see the balloon, and that's sort of introducing you to the fact that It is very selective with who he approaches. He's mostly after kids. He's after weak people that are alone, and Derry is kind of like a big pack of sheep getting hunted by a wolf. Like, they all keep their heads down until it's them.
Yeah, just hoping that it's not going to be them.
And then Ben gets chased by a headless boy that got blown up at Easter like 80 years ago, and he runs into the bully with the nice hair.
The psycho bully. They've got him pinned up against this bridge, and they're clearly beating this kid up, and this car of old people drive by and they don't do anything.
Yeah, they don't want to fuck with Henry Bowers. He just cut his name into Ben's belly, which I tell you what, you're probably going to be in some serious shit. Even back then. Like, I know they were pretty laissez-faire back in the day. Kids can be kids and stuff, but if you cut open another kid's belly to write your name, you're going to be in some serious shit.
Yeah, you're gonna be doing some time,
Yeah.
I think. It's safe to say you're going to jail.
You were saying last week you thought that Henry was a little over the top. And I can kind of agree with that. I think that he as well is flourishing in a town that just doesn't give a fuck about other kids. Because if they don't care about kids being murdered dozens at a time, they're really not going to care about Henry Bowers running around making their lives hell.
Yeah, that's a good point. I just think just the way he screams, like right off the bat, is this kid is psychotic.
Yeah.
Who's going to be hanging out with that kid?
That's very true. That I don't get.
I feel like they could have just toned that down a little bit, just the way he like loses his shit. Like it goes like 0 to 100.
You know what, man? In all reality, there are groups of people that do terrible shit in the dead of night when they can get away with it.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I mean, you can even tell like the other bullies are like more normal bullies. Oh hey, yeah, let's pick on this kid because he's got some tits, and let's push him around and maybe beat him up a bit. But they all kind of look at him like, "Ours, chill the fuck out." Dude.
Yeah, but I guess you don't want to get out of Henry's crew either, because then you.
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess they're probably also worried about like how he's gonna react. He's gonna cut me next.
And also they're probably pretty sexually aroused by the cutting of the belly.
Well, it is Derry, Maine. Anything's possible in Derry,
So
Maine.
at this point, they've been chased down into the sewer by Henry and the gang, and we get introduced. Well, we get the end and the beginning of the lanky bully. And I can't remember his name, but the guy's a fucking turd. I'll just tell you that. This is
Little
another role
pyro.
that I do not
Cool.
envy. He's running around with a
Cool.
can of hairspray and a lighter, trying to scare kids. Like the guy's got an IQ of not much. Yeah,
16.
figure it out, buddy. If you're gonna be menacing, running around with a can of hairspray and a lighter is not menacing. And luckily enough,
This is
he
douchey.
goes into the sewer and gets eaten by it and a bunch of zombie
I
children.
think that was one of my favorite scares in the movie, where it's just like you see the silhouettes and they're like, "You found us!" Ah, ha, ha, ha. And then he sprays his hairspray and it's just like they're a bunch of undead looking people.
Yeah, that was a good one. As well as the fact that you start to see the inner workings of what it does to people. Like he's using dead bodies and shit to do his own bidding now.
And then we've got this part right after where the kids have met Ben, and now they're already showing like the solidarity amongst these kids. They don't even know this kid, and they're like, "Oh, we got to help him," and they're going to get supplies for him. And
Yeah, they're definitely.
it's just that theme of solidarity and camaraderie.
And Eddie's talking about how he doesn't know how people get AIDS, so he's worried about getting AIDS from Ben Hanscom. So as they're coming together to be like this force of good in the movie, you still get this amazing comic relief of all their ginormous inflated personalities coming together. And they're still ripping on each other constantly while they're helping out this cut open kid. I thought it was really good. And Beverly, going back a little bit from there, when they go to get the stuff to fix him up, she ends up helping them, and she's going to get brought into the fold of the group soon. But she talks to the pharmacist, and the pharmacist is hardcore perving on her. And she she plays that up for him. She uses her infantile sexuality to sort of bend the pharmacy guy to her will. And that I found a little out of left field. I was like, wait, so her backstory is that she's getting molested by her dad, and then she goes into a drugstore and plays up her sexuality to a pharmacist who I guess is also a pedophile. So I don't know if that's empowering or if that's kind of fucked up.
I think it's just like she knows from the way her dad treats her that there's this side of things in the world, and I guess she just takes a shot in the dark, like maybe this guy's a creeper too.
Yeah.
I mean, he does
look like a pervert.
He does have the rapist glasses.
Yeah. I love that look. Old men thinking that they're getting somewhere with young women when they're getting played in movies.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh yes,
yeah.
Yes, I kind of do look like Clark Kent. Thank you very much. Well, whereas the whole
it's so
audience
creepy,
is
flips
just
it around.
like, you fucking idiot.
Yeah. Yeah, and then he flips it around like, "Oh, you look like Lois Lane."
Oh,
Like, oh
God, I
dude.
forgot that he said that.
so bad.
Yucky, man. So yucky.
It's
Yeah,
horrible.
and then we right after that we get a nice little shot of the dad being a creep on her.
Oh, this is terrible scene.
You
Like
keep
the way he touches her
you keep
hair.
waiting for something really fucked up to happen there, but they skirt around it nicely. You get the full emotional impact of like, oh, that's a shitty childhood, but you don't have to. You have to see any of the actual.
Yeah, they don't have to have like an actual
grossness.
like sexual assault scene.
And then we get this nice pool party in the quarry where everybody's wearing white underwear together, shirtless. I got no comment on any of that. We get a nice Bill Beverly scene where the love triangle. Ben has written Beverly a love poem, and it's something fire, something embers. My heart burns there too. It's not important what the poem is, but it's gonna come into play. So yeah, all the boys are super interested in what Beverly's doing the whole scene.
Like, oh my God, there's a girl hanging out with us.
I also
and
thought
she's in
that
her
was
underwear.
super funny because I have done the exact same thing.
They're all just sitting around staring at her, and then she like looks up, and they're all like, "Oh yeah, we're not looking at you. We're just being
When
casual
I was
over
13
here."
years old, I went to a summer camp, and I think I was 12, and I had to be told by one of the counselors to stop following around this one girl. Like there was this one gorgeous girl that was hitting puberty well before everybody else, and all the boys were following her around, sitting at her table and shit. So I know exactly how these guys feel. One of the most embarrassing moments in my life is just having a 20-year-old counselor come and be like, "Hey, Keegan, you're gonna have to you make making
you gotta stop
Beverly
following us.
uncomfortable. Would you mind sitting at the other table?
I had a similar experience in grade 7. I had a classmate named Misty, and she wasn't even like pretty, but she was developing in the chest area quite significantly. And all of a sudden, she was just
The belle of the
the
ball.
center focus amongst the guys. Yeah, because she was just like all of a sudden just like stacked.
Yeah, so it's like a B cup in grade 7. Holy zoomers! Just
Yeah,
for a
like
bra.
whoa.
Anyway, back to this movie. They did a great job continuing all these little plot lines. Like, you see these stolen glances between Ben and Beverly, Bill and Beverly, all ramping up to the finale, but it doesn't seem very forced, and it's just small shots. We finally get to see Eddie's fear here coming up, and Eddie's scared of germs, right? The guy's a germaphobe. He's scared of AIDS. He's scared of E. coli, bacteria. Everybody's going to die from anything that they touch in this world. So, of course, what comes out of this house that he walks by is a leper. And I thought the leper was gross. But there's also something that doesn't quite obey the laws of physics in that leper. You know what I mean? Did it not look very alien? Like, it doesn't just look like a guy with leprosy. It looks like a 7-foot tall guy with leprosy, like super leprosy.
Oh yeah. He's got his giant club foot.
That was disgusting. And then we get to see the first kind of full out reveal of it hanging out. We get an extended shot of him outside in the daytime. So he's getting bolder. Because before we've seen him in the sewers, we've seen him for just glimpses, and this time he's just out in the open. He's got like 20 feet of balloons in front of him, and he just moves them. He's like, "Hey, look where I am. I'm coming for you."
There's another part that I really liked was just him standing there with the balloons and like the tall grass. It's just kind of creepy image.
Yeah, 'cause those balloons do not move. I'll tell you that much, but they all float.
They all float. They all
That was
float
a big one
down
that somebody
here.
asked me, like, what does they all float mean? Because it's big in the book, it's big in the 90s one, and it's mentioned a few times here, but the point is that like everything that goes down into the sewer is gonna be stuck there. Like, it doesn't matter that they're all gonna float or whatever. It's basically you're going to a hell purgatory. Like, you'll be down there for quite a while. Everything floats. Nothing sinks. Nothing leaves. Nothing goes anywhere. It's all hanging out. All these dead people are being.
I always took it as just you're gonna be floating because there's water down here and you're gonna be dead. You're gonna float like a cadaver. I never thought of like it that way. That's good.
That's how I always took it. Like, it's very sinister. Like, you're not just gonna be dead. You're gonna hang out. And we get the horrific scene coming up here of Beverly's intro to it, and that is the sink bubbling over with blood. And when they did this in the 90s one, it was a pretty big gout of blood. But what they did in this one is they just filled the goddamn room. Like, it sprays every corner of the room. It's all over her. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
And her matted hair comes out of the drain and grabs at her head. There's a lot of head grabbing and pulling towards an encroaching force. Like, when they go to the end of the film and fight Pennywise, he tries to pull in, I think it's Bill's head, to chomp him. I think the director might have a fetish with head bobbing. I don't know.
Head bobbing. Well, I mean, I think I at least for Beverly's scene is that it's like that kind of goes in tandem with her home life and how her father abuses her.
Yeah, and the dad actually comes in right after because he's screaming bloody murder because there's blood all over the place. He doesn't see anything, and he reaches down and just like touches her head, and he's got blood on his fingers, but he doesn't feel it register it at all. And that's when
I love surreal things like that. Like, you know, it's clearly things are not right, and then you've got a character or characters like acting like there's nothing wrong. Like, hey,
big
like,
horror
what's going
staple
on?
is the altered states. Once you're in the territory of the supernatural, you start to be separated from everyone around you, right?
I really, really like the blood sequence. I think it's probably my one of my absolute favorite moments in the movie.
I'd
In
seen
this
it
the
before.
new one.
I thought the blood looked a little bit corny, but it was a good scene. I think one of my favorites actually is coming up next, and that is the Georgie in the basement scene where he's in the flooded basement and he starts to talk about floating. And he's like, "Oh, Bill, you should have helped me." But when he
Yeah.
smacks Georgie into the water, like Pennywise was using Georgie like a hand puppet. That to me was super creepy. It's the idea that
Yeah, no,
he
that yeah, that
uses
was.
he uses their whole representations as just like he just slips them on and off.
There's this part where I'm not a big fan of yeah, I think he does it a couple times in the movie. How it just like closes the distance, and he kind of is like convulsing and shaking around.
You didn't like it?
I just wasn't a. No, I just doesn't. I just feel like I think, especially in that scene where they're in the water and the basement is flooded. I think it would have been more sinister to just have him like disappear under the water, have like that like some sort of moment of suspense of like, well, where is he coming, and then close distance
Yeah.
under the water. You know, I just feel like it's just they're just trying like, oh look, we're scary.
Yeah, I think what they're doing is just showing the helplessness that he can get that close so quickly, but he doesn't. Pennywise is
Yeah,
edging. Like he's like coming just so close to getting you, and then he's like, no, no, I'm gonna back it up.
he's
Yeah,
edging.
edging for the uninitiated is when you masturbate till you almost climax, but then you let it come back down and then
Stop.
go again. Pennywise is a dick.
Just riding that edge as long
I
as you
think
can.
in the novel, Pennywise kind of knows that these kids are more dangerous than he bargained for, and I think that he can't come at them
Yeah.
in such a straightforward way. And I think the movie just used that instead of having him be like worried about the situation, they just had him have way more fun with the kids instead. He's just like, look, I can
Yeah.
do this at any time.
Well, I
And I
think
don't
he
have to.
also
The classic movie villain. Every movie villain has to be so superior that they and so what's the word? Underestimating of the hero that they're their own downfall, right? Villains in
yeah.
movies do half the legwork for heroes. Oh, now that I've got you in my lair, I must monologue for 20 minutes.
Yeah, give you 10 minutes to escape. I think what he's also doing is he has to make sure that they're afraid of him when he finally does go after them because that's how he gets his power. Like if they're not scared of him, then
Yeah.
he's powerless. So with like a kid Georgie's age, it's relatively easy to get him to the state that you need him to be in. But then these kids are a bit older, so I think he's got to really build up that fear.
There's 100% got to be some rules with it. Like he can't go through the whole town and just eat everybody one at a time, right? Like that's not how he works. It has a lot to do with the fear and like you said, putting them into a state. Because he's not an all powerful thing. He's got a certain set of rules. Like, okay, I got to get him this scared. I got to get him this alone, and then I can eat him.
Yeah.
So now we've got to the Mike Hanlon intro to the Losers Club. Mike Hanlon doesn't have much of a backstory. I found that I feel like you lose him in the conversations and stuff. Like when he walks away at the end of the movie, I was like, oh shit, Mike Hanlon's still here.
Yeah, they could have given him a bigger
He doesn't
chunk of the
confront
movie.
his fear of the fire. He never talks about it. I wish that.
Yeah, he doesn't have much of an arc. His arc is like, oh, I don't want to kill sheep, and then he's
Yeah.
like, okay, I can do it now. That's
It's
it's
not
kind of
much.
it's a weak arc.
But hey, we need him for that big head shotgun, bolt gun.
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, like that's just whittling a character down to a plot device. It's
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I'm team Mike all the way. I think he has a good backstory, especially the racism that he's encountering in this movie. I think it would have been important for him to have some
Yeah,
sort of
yeah, totally.
have some sort of awakening where he starts fighting back, stops taking shit, grows his fro
Yeah.
out. Maybe not that far.
Yeah, Eddie and Billy and Beverly definitely have like they're at the
Yeah, and
forefront.
Stan once again gets a kind of shitty role in that he's the pussy that's going to kill himself in the next movie.
I totally forgot about
Yeah,
that
I
in the
can't handle
miniseries. I really hope we don't have to wait like 3 years for Chapter 2. I really like this movie, and I really want to see where they take it in the next. Because I think that was where the miniseries really failed. Was like they did a much better job of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
kids side of things in the
Well, you get
miniseries.
John Ritter
And
playing
then
a serious
you
part.
kinda-
It's just so out of nowhere. R.I.P. Yeah, I hope they go darker with the adult one. Pennywise body count was really low in this movie. Like there were people that he had already killed that were down in the sewer, but really the amount of times that we get to see him actually shed some blood is very minimal. When he's about to eat somebody, it always cuts away.
Well, what is he gets? He
Georgie
gets
the
Georgie,
bully.
obviously, and then he gets that lanky bully in the sewers. I think
might be all.
might actually be it.
Yeah, I want
Which
to
is
see him
kinda
get a
weird.
serious body count in the next movie because he's such a great. You get 100 horror movies, 100 horror monsters in one monster in this movie. So I'd like to see him in action. The scene where he is coming out of the projector, where the hair from Bill's mom is just brushing in the wind, and then his head comes out, was terrifying. Oh
Yeah,
my god!
yeah,
I'm actually
super creepy.
watching the scene where he comes out of the projector, like out of the wall. That CGI is fucking terrifying. I remember jumping a foot in the theater when the lights went black for a second, and then he was in the room and he was 9 feet tall.
Yeah.
Horrifying.
Yeah, he's
Biggest
just
jump scare of the
huge.
whole movie for me.
Yeah,
His
no, it was
teeth,
one of-
his eyes, the whole thing.
Definitely.
And it looks so good. It's not one of those cheesy ones. Like Stan Uris' Sphere really looks like somebody made it in post, right? And they just
Yeah.
didn't quite pull that one off. And a lot of what he turns into in their sewer battle looks very, very tacky, but this one really got to me. I don't know if they put him in like a small room and then built it around that, or how they did it, but it just looks much better.
Yeah, no, it was really well done. Yeah, it was definitely one of the better
Yeah.
scares.
And this
in the
is an
movie.
important point in the film when they see how strong it can be, that he basically knows what they're up to, and he can come in and just massacre them at any time. All the kids want to give up, and Bill's resolve here is unwavering throughout the film. Like there's no point where Bill needs somebody else. He's always straightforward, like I gotta save this town from the thing that killed my brother. I gotta go see my brother.
I think he wants closure, right? He needs that closure. He doesn't, his brother just disappeared, and for all they know that he fell down into the sewer somehow, and they haven't found his body.
Only
so
that amount of emotion could make you prepared to fight a clown that can turn into anything.
yeah, especially when you're like whatever, however old these kids
Like
are.
if
like
that
12,
clown came
13.
at me and it was commitment, he'd be able to eat me straight away.
Yeah, I ain't fucking with no psycho demon clown with huge teeth. No thanks. I'll pass.
I mean, like
I'll pass on
if
that.
I was getting paid like a decent wage, like $30 an hour, I could hunt him down.
$30 an hour is a pretty good wage.
That shows you how little that I make in my real life that I would fight a fictitious killer clown for that kind of money.
I would do it. I'd fuck that clown up.
I'd fuck him up slow. Get some overtime.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, you gotta stretch that hourly work out, right? You gotta.
So at this point, the Losers Club has wandered into the house. We see the losers go into the room. Eddie's confronted with the leper again, and Richie and Bill are locked in a room together. And this is where we're gonna see Richie's sphere, which is actually just clowns. So way to be creative, Richie. He doesn't even have to do any legwork. He's already perfect.
Fucking clown.
Maybe that's why he saved Richie for last. He's like, well, this one's gonna be kind of boring. That was another thing, is that Richie didn't really believe in all this shit for quite a big amount of the movie. He wanted to not believe in it, and that's
Yeah, he's got that awesome line. He's like, like about being a virgin. Like, oh, maybe I guess you have to be a virgin to see it.
Richie is catching Major Tail.
Yeah.
I think that was important to have the disbelief though as well, because this is a pretty hard pill to swallow if you're not in the movie theater, right? If this was happening in your real life and all your friends were like, yeah, we see a killer clown, like, fuck you guys, don't lie to me. How big was he?
Yeah. How
big
big
was his
was
forehead?
his forehead?
Was it 1.5 times bigger than regular humans? Because then you should have stranger dangered him. And see, some of these some of the bad things that come after these kids are less terrifying than others. Like the floor has just turned into uh, burning goop. I don't know what you call it, acid
Yeah.
spit.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know what's going
So
on there.
I bet that's from the novel. Like one of them's got to be scared of that. But oh my god, it coming out of the fridge
The
and just like
fridge. Oh man,
reconstituting his spine.
some some exorcism, like
Yeah.
unnatural body movements,
And
like
then he
exorcist
just
style. That was another one of my favorite parts. Yeah. And then he's doing his little dancing kind of routine, the way he's like
yeah.
walking towards him.
That's one thing that
Just like playing with him.
I didn't like as much when he really starts to play with his food with Eddie, and he's very contemporary. Like he doesn't feel like an alien being anymore. He feels like a mean guy that can turn into a bunch of stuff. I think he should have had a harder time communicating with the kids in a way like that. But that's just me. I think he seems less mystical when he's like, "Ah, look, I'm gonna eat ya, I'm gonna eat ya, I'm gonna eat ya." Kind of became
Yeah.
clownish, which is odd for a clown to do. And then Beverly stabs him with the goddamn
In
in
the
the face, and
fucking
that is horrifying
face,
too.
like
As he's staggering
right
out
through
of
the
the
head.
room, and he's
Yeah.
like half transformed, like he's got his teeth hanging out, like he's having a fucking stroke halfway through transforming. It was pretty good.
Yeah. And his face is all like
Yeah,
misshapen.
and the scene where they break Eddie's arm to put it back into place. Yeah,
No, like
the
put it back into
levity,
place.
the way
Yeah.
that you can just you can go from having a 6 foot tall clown werewolf walk out of the room, and then you can instantly be back grounded into like a kid's reality is so good. This movie's gonna have major rewatchability just because it's not one note. It's not just a horror movie that's terrifying. It's like all good Stephen King adaptations. It mixes the horror into real life. He's so good at doing that in his writing. It's just like you go from moment to moment. You feel sorry for characters. You get love stories. You get humor. All that mixed into a horror setting, not just constant horror.
Yeah, the humanity.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately that makes the horror stronger because it shows how much these characters have to lose. Like they have these like lives that they want to live and get back to.
Exactly. It's not a
Be normal
slasher
kids.
flick archetype. He spends a long time setting you up with the people that he fucks with.
And we get to see Eddie's psycho mom again in action in her
The big
disgusting
pantsuit
tracksuit.
boys.
Oh, it's so bad. And I love that she's driving the Mercmobile from Wayne's World.
She just looks so
It's great.
bloated there. She looks like a terrible. Is Jenny McCarthy the mom? She looks so much like Jenny McCarthy, but like different. I don't like it.
I
I
don't
just
think it
insulted
is. Oh.
the shit out of Jenny McCarthy, which luckily enough is never gonna get back to her. 'Cause she'd be like, "Who the fuck's this guy?" I made $1 million doing a Vonage commercial yesterday. I don't give a fuck about this guy.
And this guy is willing to fight demons for
What a
$30 an
scrap.
hour.
So we see the Richie and Bill have a bit of a falling out. They kind of give up. They're like, "Look, we stabbed it in the fucking head and it didn't go down. Like, let's just get out of here, man." And then they get into a little fist fight, and Eddie gets taken away. This is building up to the climax. In any buddy movie, you get that moment where the group breaks down and then comes back together stronger. I don't know why that's always necessary.
Yeah.
I don't know what that adds to the storytelling. I guess it's them getting over their hang-ups or what, but every goddamn movie does it. We don't need it anymore.
I think it's like a stakes thing.
Like
I
it
think it's
happened
like a
in
stakes thing.
Dodgeball.
Like there's
It happened. I'm trying to come up with more. It happens in Step Brothers. These are all comedies. It doesn't traditionally happen in a horror movie, I don't think.
but most horror movies aren't buddy
Right.
movies.
Except for Zombie Apocalypse Bros. That was a good movie. So we get into Henry Bowers, and he's shooting a gun, and then his dad does super, like he doesn't hit him or anything, but the verbal violence there is palpable. Like obviously, Henry spends every day of his life in fear of his dad just whooping his fucking ass.
Yeah. And this is how we learn, like, oh, this
Yeah,
is why
this
he's
is
a
why he's
total
a douche.
fucking psycho. Like, he's like, I like how they flip it because you immediately hate him right now. You're like, oh, this guy's gonna kill a cat for
Yeah.
fun. What a piece of shit. And then they just immediately flip
His
it around,
dad's
like,
a
oh,
monster.
now like like immediately sympathize with him because his dad's like crazy and reduces him to like a quivering
And then
puddle.
he stabs his dad in the neck. And that's a pretty good scene because the switchblade is on a spring loader, so he has it closed and then just presses the button and it goes into his dad's neck. And you're scared.
Yeah,
He's scared, and you're
like,
scared as the audience that the dad is gonna get up and just keep fighting. Like, oh, I just cut this guy's carotid artery, but he's such a badass at beating me up that he's gonna come up and end me.
did it a good job of finally giving the bully a little bit more dimension. He's just not like a one-note psychopath. That he's actually like this horribly abused kid who probably is either living in constant fear or he's lashing out and doing to people smaller and weaker than him what he wants to do to his dad and what his father's ultimately just taught him how to.
But I
interact
also
with
wouldn't go
people.
so far and to absolve Henry Bowers of his decisions because the guy is a fucking brutal asshole. He kills his own. He kills his
Oh
own
yeah,
father,
he is.
and maybe the dad deserves it. But then he goes on
But
to kill the Losers Club. So he didn't.
Well, I think it's not just that. I think there's almost like some kind of like possession theme going on here, right?
Whether that's from the clown
Yeah.
or
Well,
from himself.
it's gotten into him.
But yeah, I mean, if this was like a different movie, he would kill the father and then go practice painting in New York. You know, he'd go to art school and he'd be like, "Finally, I can get out of here." He'd be from the South, I guess. But no, Henry Bowers is released from the fear of his father, and then he's immediately like, "All right, time to kill all the other kids around here." This is definitely no salvation for old Henry. The guy is a dick, and mullets are horrible.
Now he's never going to be able to open his meth trailer
Yeah,
like he
I
wants
mean,
to.
really, you should have chased his dream.
His dreams of being dashed. His dreams of being a small town meth lord are gone.
And Beverly also beats up her dad. Her dad wants to do some raping, and she's like, "No, Dad, I'm an adult now." And she runs into the bathroom, and the dad comes in after her, and then she beans him in the head with the top of the toilet tank. And I think he's dead.
Yeah. Just boom. Yeah, he just starts bleeding from the head. I mean, if he's not dead now, he's gonna be dead without immediate medical attention in the next like 30 minutes.
Yeah, Beverly gets her comeuppance moment, and I thought that was good. Everybody is kind of overcoming their fears, and they've got to come together so this movie can end.
Yeah.
Which by this time in the theater, I love this movie. Don't get me wrong, but I was starting to get like uncomfortable, like my butt was falling asleep. And I was like, guys, I get it. Let's rack up this body count. Like I know Stand By Me. I've seen that movie.
Well, I was half expecting just because I'm familiar with the story and I know they sort of like kind of take it down and he goes into his hibernation. So I was half expecting like that whole scene in the house that was the climax. They're showing Mike killing the sheep and then they're just showing like they're just like wrapping up this. Like I thought we were like going into like denouement territory, and then it just like ramps back up again.
I don't remember from the book whether Beverly gets kidnapped. I can't remember that part. I'm assuming yes. Yeah, because
I thought that it happened to her when she's an adult.
Yeah, that's
in the
when they run
miniseries.
train. Are we gonna talk about?
This infamous scene that I guess we.
All right,
I guess
guys,
we're talking about it now.
So in the Stephen King novel, actually, when they go down into the sewers to have this child fight, they actually in the It novels, I believe the kids' version of events when they kill It for the first time happens at the end of the novel. You don't actually get to see what happened because the big whammy of them going down there is that it's this spiritual thing. Like they're a group of 7. When Stan Uris ultimately kills himself, they'll become 6 and they'll be less powerful. But what they do to kind of channel that power in the sewer is that they all run train on Beverly, having sex with her one at a time.
Just like a little,
11-year-olds. Yeah.
preteen gangbang in the sewers. It's pretty messed up. You told me that, and I thought you were joking.
Little hamster balls, guys, going to town on poor Beverly.
Well, I mean, at least you don't have to worry about pregnancy.
That would be my number one worry if I was doing that in the sewer. If I was getting naked in the sewer and I was 11 years old, I would be like, Beverly, like, we're gonna get pregnant here.
Well, like, Eddie really got over his fear pretty quick if he's willing
Yeah,
to just, have
yeah, he
sex in
comes
the
out of his
sewer.
shell quite a bit for that one. But can you blame him? um, Stephen King actually
That's some
did
pretty.
a
That's the dark shit,
he
Mr.
did an
King. It's
interview
dark shit.
talking about it because everybody was kind of freaking out about it. And he wrote that it wasn't really about the sex; it was about they were making a covenant together. You know, it was more spiritual than it was physical.
Yeah.
And and Stephen King writes some weird shit about sex, but I believe the guy. I think that he was on a mass amount of drugs. He's freely admitted that for like 20 years of his writing career, he was getting fucked up on different drugs constantly. So if he wants to write about preteen gangbangs, I don't lose any respect for the guy. I think he has great candor as an artist. But that's fucked up.
Yeah, it's pretty. They threw me for a loop there when you told me that. I was like, oh, haha, no, they don't do that. You're like, no, I'm not even joking. I'm like, what?
That was a
Google.
part of the novel.
Google now.
He doesn't even remember writing parts of the novels. When we get down into this sewer here, I really enjoy that they start to bring in the paranormal. Like, there's a thing called the Deadlights, and that's essentially what it is down at his core. He's a shapeshifter, and he takes the form of a spider. I don't think he will in this movie, but there is an ultimate form to him. But there's or I guess that's the penultimate form, because what he is down on the inside is these lights, and they want to consume souls, they want to consume fear. They're constantly going at it, and you get to see the lights for a second when he's got Beverly hung up in the air there. So I like that they took the lore, and I don't think they're in the books. There's a turtle that the universe sits on, or the world sits on, and he gives the kids power to fight the spider thing. That's because that's what it is.
So whoa, rewind there for a second.
In the book, there is a turtle. I can't remember what his name is.
That the world sits on. Oh, so that's like
This world shit.
There's like some Eastern mythology.
So, but it gets to this vast scale very late in the books. Like, all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, there's a turtle, the universe is on, and there's a door to other worlds and shit. It gets very, very grand scale off of this small storyline. But I don't know how far they're going to go into that. I like that they added the lights, because that gives a little callback to people that did read the book. You're like, okay, so we're getting into the inner workings of it. But at the same time, I don't think that they can sell 500 million in ticket sales if at the end there's a big fucking turtle.
Yeah,
you must kill the spider. I am Tortoise. Although I would fucking love to watch that movie.
Like,
I am into that shit.
I'd watch it. Sounds like some kind of crazy like Dungeons and Dragons.
If they made $500 million on this one, they could probably just go free reigns with it. Like, all right, here's the turtle, here's the weird door to the Elseworlds, and we're going. But back to the movie, when we see this carousel, like, I just love that you take it from when you get into its lair, shit is even crazier than when he's out on the prowl. Like, he's got bodies floating in the air.
Yeah. Like a lot of children's bodies floating in the air. He's got this like fucked up tome, like sort of some like monolithic structure of like broken bicycles and like all this.
Oh, it's pretty messed up. It highlights that he's resonating with some energy from the fear, from the death, from their artifacts. And Stephen King is really good at making American mythology, making you believe that there's power in the objects or the thoughts and the ideas of these kids bigger than themselves.
I love the shot of like the paint, the messed up painting thing with its teeth around Stan's face.
Super creepy.
I think that was a sweet shot.
So I guess when it wants to suck out your soul essence and your blood and stuff, he has like 30 to like 100 teeth that he all sinks into your face at once to suck out all the goodness that's inside you. Yeah. It's a really weird guy. It's
pretty messed up.
Probably not be a clown anymore. His clowning license should be revoked.
Well, I mean, don't put this on your resume.
Yeah, Pennywise.
Pennywise.
Can we call you Penny? Then we get into the final fight with it versus all the kids, and he starts turning into all the stupid shit that the kids are scared of. For a second, he turns into Stan Sphere, and he turns into a mummy for Ben, which he's never turned into before. I didn't like that. I wish they had at least included one scene where Ben was scared of mummies. But he's just going back and forth. Like,
and they left out the whole father thing with Ben too.
Father thing.
His father, his dead dad.
Yeah, that would have been a good fear. But Pennywise isn't scary in this scene anymore. Like, he's defeated so easily. He's like, oh, you guys aren't scared of my various stupid-looking forms. It's like, the more things that you transform into, the least scary you are going to be.
Yeah.
Or the less scary you're going to be. But yeah, he's totally defeated here. I thought for a climax, this was pretty cut and dry. It's like, we win. You suck, Pennywise.
Yeah. And they just like lynch him. They just like gang
could
beat
they
him.
not have done a little bit of questioning whether they would win? I felt like they could have cut 20 minutes of B-roll shit about Henry Bowers or something and added in a half decent fight scene.
Well, like in the book, they don't like physically fight him like this, do they? Don't they have some kind of ritual that they do?
Yeah, they don't have to beat him down. They had to change that for the movie though, because people wouldn't understand it. People wouldn't understand Turtle Goo-Gah.
I really like the scene right before the fight with Billy. Georgie shows up with his like bitten off arm, his like arm stub.
And he
all emotional. They got the like almost like a reunion going on, and he wants to go home with Billy, and then Billy just fucking murks him, like one like shot to the dome.
That was some.
It's not Georgie.
Closure,
Spoiler
though, for
alert.
old Bill talking to the hand puppet of his arch
exactly.
nemesis. And then True Love's kiss wakes up Beverly.
Oh God, worst part of the movie.
Ben Hanscom wakes her up.
Yeah, it's like, oh, so all of a sudden this is like Sleeping Beauty.
Well, they couldn't show the original way that they wake her up, could they?
No, but I still think that's they could have come up with something.
A little dry humping for sure.
Like just the fact that like it is weakened and has like now like retreated back into his 27-year hibernation. Maybe that just wakes her up automatically.
I mean, all the bodies did start floating down, so why wasn't her enchantment breaking?
Yes. So why?
Well,
yeah,
also,
exactly.
why did it need
that
the girl?
Was definitely the low point of the film for me.
I feel like they elevate Beverly's importance a lot in this movie.
Yeah,
she's the main hoe of all the boys.
Make a lot of sense. That kiss is just like, I'm just like, oh no, please don't. Oh my God, it worked. Oh, okay. And then she wakes up and the first thing she says is like, January embers. Then Ben goes, I burned there too. Like, oh God.
Hope Ben.
And then she still doesn't go for Ben.
Duh.
Like, it's fucking brutal.
A little fatty. Huh?
Yeah,
I used to be chunky.
Yeah,
when I was Ben.
Beverly's a shallow.
No, you gotta lose the weight.
Bitch.
You gotta do it for yourself. Right? You know how much food you gotta eat as a child to be obese? A lot. I was eating fucking 2.5 sandwiches for lunch and shit. Like, come on, guys. I've been there. I'm not trying to rain on anybody's parade, but if you're 11 years old and you're super fat, you can stop yourself. And it's not that kind of podcast. You know what? Do whatever you want. Eat do whatever you want for lunch. I don't give a fuck.
Eat your Cheetos, drink your milkshakes.
If you want to be, you know what? Lots of people are attracted to bigger people. So who am I to say?
Apparently not Beverly.
Oh, come on, man. Bigger titties than her. Which is not hard because they're 11, but still. So we get the outro scene where they do their little blood ritual, and hold hands and shit. And then Bill's being a little twerp and he won't kiss Beverly or whatever, right?
Nut up, Bill.
And he finally does, and I would have clapped in the theater. I would have if I had been a braver man. You know, I was really into that kiss.
You're a coward.
I was like, Bill,
Robinson.
Go for it. You're a phony.
You're phony.
But yeah. So I was super super satisfied that they got their little kiss in. because I think they deserve that. I think they did a lot of setup in the movie for it. Ben's gonna be super fucking mad when he finds out. But
Yeah,
luckily
Ben's
enough,
gonna. Well, Ben probably has like a Beverly shrine
oh yeah,
in his bedroom. He probably like
yeah.
collects her hair. Right, he's probably got like a tome of poems already, just like hundreds of poems.
Yeah, he's got like one of her dirty socks.
Yeah, all the pages are stuck together.
With what?
Oh, I guess he's only like 11 or 12.
Um, Jesus Christ. So, they're all gonna come back together for the next movie. We're gonna cover it. It's gonna be glorious. I thought they did a fucking great job bringing that story to life. It felt very, very vibrant, hilarious, dark. I hope they go darker. Like I said earlier, I really want there to be more scariness to Pennywise. I thought he was too much of like a like. I would let a 12-year-old go watch this movie. I don't want to see a movie that a 12-year-old can watch version of this.
Yeah, that's a good point. It was it did lack a little bit on the horror side of things, but like everything else was so good that
as an adventure film, 9 out of 10. It would be a good intro horror movie to somebody that hasn't seen horror movies before, because you get a nice feel good feeling at the end.
Yeah, and I mean it had a couple moments of like some really good scare, but like overall it's just it's a more of a story about like perseverance through friendship and like overcoming your fears and
Stand By Me.
Yeah, exactly.
With killer
like
clowns.
Stand By Me meets The Thing.
It's like Stand By Me. Stand near us. So he's not the main character, and he's dead in the next one. Spoiler alert, guys. He's dead in the next one.
He kills himself.
I don't feel sorry for saying that. All right, you know what? It's been an
tops
hour.
himself.
We're gonna have to cut it off here. If you have anything to add, please feel free to find us on Facebook, comment on wherever the fuck I've posted this video, and thank you so much for bearing with us through this troubling time.